Hey, so who do we have here today? Y'all know me.
Hi, this is Juliana with Prime Lending. I'm here with Sally. We're in a really great listing of hers that has a great acoustics to talk about credit. We're going to talk about credit today and credit scores and how do you navigate this for yourself and your family. Credit. What is credit? Credit is a way to measure your reliability in borrowing money in the future. So the best way to determine someone's eligibility for a new loan or insurance or rentals or so many different things is how have you paid your bills in the past? And that's where credit scoring comes in. There are three major repositories, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, and most creditors report to one, two, or all three of those repositories, which is why there are three, so that we have a good measurement of your history, no matter who they report to. And so the best ways to navigate your credit and create a good opportunity for you to borrow money in the future is to do the following things.
So three.
There's three major credit scoring systems. But the components that go into making up your credit. First of all, the credit scoring range is anywhere from 300 to 850. 300, I'm not sure I've ever seen, and I very rarely see credit scores over 800. And it's a really good measurement of your ability and your long-term history as a credit user. But the things that really are important for credit users to consider is your utilization of your available debt. What does that mean? So if you have a credit card that has a $10,000 available credit limit, try to limit your total usage to 30% of that, so $3,000. And you want to always use your open available lines of credit, because if they're dormant and you're not using them, that doesn't help. So always use them, even if it's just to get a tank of gas once a month. Use your credit cards.
Does paying them off at the end of the month still benefit credit?
Yeah, it does. It does benefit if you don't use them. If there's no history, when you actually go through and we pull credit, there is a way to look at the usage and actual history of your payment history. And so if you don't make any payments, or because you don't have a balance, that doesn't help you long term. So it's always best to go ahead and utilize those open available lines, even if it's just for a little bit. The other component too, if you don't use it for a long period of time, those creditors will likely close those accounts without even notifying you. And so that entire credit history that you had, even though it was paid well, goes away. The other thing is to not rapidly acquire a lot of credit. When you acquire a new credit card, it actually takes and cuts the history that you have on anything existing in half. So if you get one new credit card and then another and then repeated, your credit history continues to decrease, as even though paid is agreed, it decreases because the history is then lost.
So no Kohl's credit cards and you're checking out and they're like, hey, 25% off at J.Crew right now.
If you can limit that, that's best for sure. Other ways to talking to parents. If you're trying to establish credit for your children, add them as an authorized user to their your credit cards. You don't have to give them a credit card. Add them, and then your credit history will then be something that will be reported on their credit report and will allow them to go and get secured cards or things that will help them establish their credit on the go forward. I have two children. They're about to turn 18. They have established credit because they have authorized user accounts on their credit of mine. They do have one of them in their possession, and they sure know how to use it. So we are also going forward with education on how to pay those, so that on the future they're not in trouble with using credit too much. And then other things that are important: paying your mortgage on time, paying your automobile on time. Currently, medical debts are not reported on your credit, and they don't impact your score if they're above a certain or below a certain dollar amount. But also There are other measurements that we can use if you don't have a credit score, for example. Some people don't use credit or haven't used it for a long time. And if you're looking to buy a home, you can still actually get a loan. You'll just have to establish 3 non-traditional sources. So things that could work for that are utilities, insurance, cell phone bills. They have to be in your name. That's important.
So are any of those late payments, so if you're late on your car, your mortgage, your credit card, do any of those affect it more than the other?
I don't know that they have, you could say what the amount that it impacts, but it is a significant drop. Any late payment on revolving liabilities, fixed liabilities, such as an automobile or a home or line of credit on your home, any delinquencies does have a dramatic and long-term effect. So if you make your house payment as agreed for 10 years, it could improve your credit score 50 to 100 points. This is this is an approximate amount. If you pay one thing late, you can have up to a 75-point drop. And that's dramatic. So even if you've paid things very well for a very, very long time, any kind of late payment can have an impact that will really damage your score for a while. There are ways to repair it. And if you would ever like to explore those, you can reach out to Sallie or myself, and we'll help guide you and give you different tools that will help you improve your score, or even a plan if it's not now. 5 months from now, 2 years from now, however what that looks, we can definitely help you figure out ways to achieve your goals.
So I've heard if you have a late payment, you've never had a late payment before, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Like if you call those people and you say, hey, I've never missed a payment. Can you please not report this one single time in 10 years? Is that something that people are successful with that you've heard of? Or
I have heard that people have had success with that. I think you really have to appeal to them in a very proactive way, and you definitely have to have demonstrated good payment history with them in order for that to be the case. And definitely, I've heard of creditors reducing or eliminating late fees more readily than actually not reporting delinquencies on credit. Whenever you enter into a contractual agreement with any creditor, you will sign a notice that you understand any late payments could be reported to your credit report. And so the best thing is call them in advance and say, hey, I might have some difficulties making this payment, and make arrangements prior to it happening. And I think you'll have a better result that way. But no matter what, stay in communication with your creditor, because the more proactive you are with any difficulties or even any questions you have, don't hide from them. I think that is the unfortunately we live in an ego-driven environment and everybody feels awful, and that makes sense, but it's also better to be communicative because people will help and they want to help. They want you to be successful long term.
So I have a question. This may sound weird, but what if you were to have an automobile accident or something, and then you're just not even able to make that payment? Is there stuff set up to where there's a medical emergency or something like that? Is there an exception in that case? I know that's a weird question. I've just never known.
No. Sometimes there are creditors that will enter into what's called a forbearance agreement, where you are given the opportunity to make the back payments over time, and then they will report you current as long as you actually honor the new agreement. So a forbearance agreement is something that is outside of the original contract, where you can help, or they will agree to help you, and they really would prefer to be paid. That is risk. So I think the unfortunate thing that happens when you've had challenges is you tend to hide, and I've done that myself. And in this case, you just need to be very transparent and say, hey, here are the challenges I've had. And I think that creditors are more than willing to work with you in that environment.
For sure. Okay. Because in the forbearance, that would be kind of like what all the lenders did during the pandemic, where they still expected you to pay later, but they did give everybody a break.
Exactly. So what that does is it takes the amount of the payments that you didn't make and adds that to the end of the loan. So on a mortgage, for instance, it extended the term of the loan by however many months you didn't make. So instead of a 360-month term, we have now maybe a 365-month term or whatever. The forbearance agreement that you entered into. But the most important thing to do, although it was common knowledge that if there was a pandemic occurring and everyone's income had been impacted, you have to remain in contact with your creditor, because that is really the best method to move forward. So
Okay, and then so how can people check their own credit score? I know the Credit Karma, but I hear that's not super accurate.
It's not super accurate, but it is a good barometer. So if you're Credit Karma, there's a free opportunity for you to check your credit monthly. And the importance of that is it will give you an alert if anything that you're not familiar with has occurred. So maybe an old medical debt has come out that you're not familiar with, and it is now reported to your credit. You'll have the opportunity to know that this has happened. Or if a late payment is incorrect, or if there are different opportunities that creditors are offering to consolidate debt. It even gives you those kind of notifications too. And then once a month. Now, it does give you a consumer report score, which is usually a little different than a formatted report for a lender, but it is a good measurement. And I think it's worthwhile to at least have that account set up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then I've locked all of my credit. So what that does, that keeps anybody from being able to access any credit under my name. Right?
Yes. And so there's a couple of ways you can really take charge and protect yourself. One is to do a freeze on your credit. You'll do that with each repository individually. And that what that happens is if someone makes an inquiry with your information without your knowledge, they won't be able to access any kind of credit information. So scores, history, nothing. It will actually come back with no results. You can take and lift that freeze for a short period of time, or permanently if you decide you'd rather not deal with that in the future. And you just, there are online ways to do with each of those repositories. Also, you can do a fraud alert if you've been subject to fraud at all. And that is language that is on your credit report that is a creditor, of course, me, a provider of credit. We would actually have to confirm that you were the person that made the inquiry. And so that would be done by someone outside of myself. I'm a salesperson. So my support team would actually contact you and make sure that you are in fact the person that applied for this credit. So there are ways to protect yourself that are important, and they work. And that's sometimes a really good idea.
Okay, that's really great. So if somebody was thinking about buying a home this year, what would you suggest they do with their credit right now?
I think figure out what your credit score is. Determine if there are any liabilities that are not yours that you don't want the creditor to consider. For example, an authorized user account. Be prepared to provide evidence that that's not your account. It is on the 𝐓𝐢𝐦𝐞𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐦𝐩𝐬 information on your credit report. That it is an authorized user account, but you definitely want to make sure that you're prepared to share that information with the lender in case they don't catch that themselves. And just make sure that any liabilities that you have that might be paid just a little bit late, make sure you are 100% timely with those payments so that your score is not compromised at all. The other thing that you can do when you're applying for credit, you can ask for a soft credit pull. The soft credit pulls are helpful. What I also encourage clients to do, that they're helpful because they give the lender an idea of what your credit score will be. But the thing I would encourage all consumers to do before they actually have a hard credit pull is to go online to opt out of any future solicitations from other creditors. Why? When a hard credit pull is made against you, that information is sold by the credit agencies, and you will receive sometimes a large amount of solicitations that are not your intent without your permission. If you opt out, that will cease after 5 days. They say it's about a week that it takes to take effect, and that will eliminate several phone calls, emails, unwanted communication from creditors that you did not even contact. And so opting out, you can find it online, www.optout.com, and you can opt out of any future solicitations. And I encourage clients to do that whenever they can.
Okay. Because it's funny because, we've worked with a lot of clients together, and I've had clients who have, talked to other people first, of course, but nobody told them that.
Yeah.
And so then, I'm talking to them about talking to you to get another opinion, and because of your service, because you're great, then they're just like getting blown up rocket mortgage. Every single bank, everybody in the world, and they're like, what am I doing? Because apparently not everyone tells the people that.
Yeah. And that's the truth. And so, unfortunately, it does happen. Sometimes the perception is the lender that you've applied with has maybe compromised your information. That is not true. What is true is that the credit agencies have the right to sell that data, and they do. And right now, in times when business is a little bit slower, there are more hands on deck to create those unsolicited calls. And I've had some clients say they've gotten none. I've had couples where one person gets several, one gets none. I've had some get up to 80 to 100 solicitations in a day. It is a lot. And so that is where screening your phone is important as well. We're all connected at all times to our phone, and that can feel pretty intrusive. And I recognize that. So opting out is a really good opportunity. I encourage all of my clients to do that beforehand.
So you said, would it be effective to do that before? Okay, so thank you for all that valuable information. That was amazing.
Yes, you're welcome.
So if somebody's thinking about buying or selling a house, what do they need to do? They need to talk to both of us, obviously.
Yeah, you need to speak to an agent, and an agent that is Sallie will encourage you to get pre-approved, because it's very important that you know what your goals are as far as price and payment and qualifications, so that she can steer you in a way that is successful. Because buying a home is hard, and you want to make sure that any goals that you have are achievable. And so set those goals in mind. Keep it in, and think about, what do you have for a down payment? What do you want your payments to look like, so that you've got good expectations, and we'll help you guide you through that process. And then you can call me, and I'll help you with the financing. Pre-approvals take about 24 hours at the most, which is great, and I'm available all of the time.
Yeah, so I'm going to put a link to my website below, where if you're thinking about buying, where you could fill out my questionnaire to let me know what you're looking for. If you're thinking about selling, I'll have a link for that as well. And then I'll have a link to Juliana's application down below. So if this is something you've been thinking about for a long time and you're really ready to go, those are your next steps. So check below, visit us, give us a call, shoot us a text, DM, whatever. My number is below, but it's 662-588-2420. And Jules?
303-520-7050.
All right, great. Well, this is Sallie Simmons with Nostalgia Homes and Compass. And
Juliana with Preapproved.
Signing out.
Take care.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.